That's right, Liz. As the second largest denomination here in Phoenix, the Mormon Church says it's doing more and more to embrace a growing Hispanic population. And one big step, releasing a new version of the Bible that they hope will bring in more Spanish-speaking followers. One Spanish form of the Mormon Bible already exists, but church leaders say it's outdated. The new version is said to be more accurate to the official Book of Mormon and offers footnotes that many hope will lead to a better understanding of the religion. Brittany Johnson is another ASU student who attends the Tempe Institute, and while she hasn't served on a mission trip, she says the translated scripture will help her spread the word among people in her community.
If I'm, talking to somebody who predominantly speaks Spanish or would like to learn about it, then I think it's great that I can share that with them.
So imagine my delight when I was led recently to a new insight. With the help of two Hebrew scholars, I learned that one of the Hebraic meanings of the word Israel is let God prevail. Imagine my delight when I was led recently to a new insight. I learned that one of the Hebraic meanings of the word Israel is let God prevail.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. So normally I'd be checking the news, seeing what's going on in the world and locally, nationally. But with the church news video I just did, I got inspired to do another video. And so, as inspired, so I shall do. And Mormons will hate me for it. This is the final week before the Harvest Gathering Conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in the bicentennial year of the second vision. That is not about the gospel of Jesus. It's a nightmare about the day that shall burn as an oven. And Mormons are warned you need to listen to your Christ at that time to save yourselves. That's how you save yourselves from burning, Mormons, not paying tithing. Gambling has no guarantee of a return on your investment. As we all know, insurance companies are corrupt. But yeah, the mobs and mafia, after getting busted with the RICO Act that was formed, they all decided to form insurance companies. And so now they tell you what they'll cover and what they won't cover until it happens, and then they say, well, that's not really what it is, you're not covered for it. And medical doctors, yeah, they tell them what to prescribe. Heaven forbid the medical doctor tell the insurance company what they have to pay for you. So, this is the big scripture in Mormonism, if you didn't know. Joseph Smith, verse 40 in his history, refers to it. It talks about the Christ. And it's connected to Acts, and it's connected to Deuteronomy, which is the law of the Jews. Acts was written by Jews too. Thus, it's in the learning of the Jews, which means it's not literal history. That's the big lie of Christianity that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is perpetuating on Mormons, who followed Brigham Young into the desert in violation of Matthew 24. If a false prophet tells you Jesus is in the desert, don't go. Don't go, Mormons. Don't go. It's a trap. But Brigham Young had been converting new recruits to Joseph's church, calling it the wrong name. And so when they murdered Joseph, the new Mormons had no clue what church to go to other than to Brigham's. He rigged the deck like a gambling casino. And so it's also in the Book of Mormon, because it too is in the learning of the Jews. In Deuteronomy, we see that passage referred to here. 3 Nephi, chapter 20, 23. It is a coincidence. The original Book of Mormon didn't have it in that position. So it is kind of funny and amusing. 2023. The Christ of Mormons in the learning of the Jews. And so, I've told you in other videos, I was a part of the second version of the footnoting. The 1979 and 1981 versions of the scriptures were the first time that they were footnoted with Topical Guide and Bible Dictionary. And so in 1999 and into 2000 to 2004, it took 4 years to work on the Bible. And when I was called in to help, they had already finished the triple. They did that first this time. And so I was not able to correct any errors in the triple. And I do remember this one specifically, Deuteronomy 18, 15 through 19, because we were all sitting in the class waiting for the assignments for the day so that we could review them, make any final corrections if need be, because I was in the top committee. And David Gaunt came in and didn't even tell us what we had, just said, "It's Jesus." And then I'd come to find out, oh, gotcha. That was Deuteronomy 18 that I was given before they decided to do committees and do a more thorough revision of the footnotes. Because nobody in the church is an expert on the Old Testament, let alone the New Testament. And so, because of me, they finally had somebody who knew something about the Old Testament. And so I was called and set apart to the position. They come to me. I don't go to them. This was a super sacred secret operation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And because of the divorce status at the time, I had to have the Jesus card to be approved. And for those of you who believe that we're the learning of the Jews and not Christian, regardless of Trinitarian or non-Trinitarian, you will notice the irony of it. And so, I was just doing what I was told, putting the appropriate footnotes where they needed to be, and signing my name at the bottom of the page. And David Gaunt came in and said, "It's Jesus." And then I was told about Avraham Gileadi, who thought he would still try to get away with it by saying that there's two people, a man like Moses and the learning of the Jews, and the Christian Jesus of Constantine, revised by Mormons of Brigham Young. No. No. So yes, the irony of it all. And so, if you have access to one of the foreign language editions with the guide to the scriptures in them, and you see an error that still remains, it's because there was a disagreement. And because of a disagreement, no change is made. And so David Gaunt bullied his way into false doctrine. But yeah, we kind of had to. We'd get excommunicated if we said, no, it's the learning of the Jews. This is our Christ. He's going to be a Mormon. 2023 is when the day that shall burn as an oven shall happen. It wouldn't go over well. And so, yeah, there were other things also that were not able to be changed, and they didn't want to have Egyptianisms put in the footnotes. I offered to do them. No, we've got foreign language people at BYU doing it. Yeah, but they did it wrong the first time. We're not going to do it right the second time. And sure enough, they didn't. Because Nelson got up at the pulpit of conference to botch it, to prove he's not a translator. And so, the footnotes obviously still need to be revised. The English versions have not been done, or published at least, in English, if you hadn't noticed. There's the Guide to the Scriptures in English, but the Scriptures are not connected to the Guide to the Scriptures. You have to have a foreign edition to see the Guide to the Scriptures in their locations. And so the Guide to the Scriptures can sort of help you, but like we learned today, the church is pulling a 1984 on Mormons, which I warned you. You didn't believe, because you think the church is true. And of course, you didn't watch 1984 because it's rated R. And so the church has won in keeping you from knowing what they're up to. You didn't watch The Godfather. You didn't watch the best Christmas movie ever, Die Hard. So you're missing out on a lot of good stuff because you worship idols. And so the footnotes would need to be redone to simplify what already exists, not what the church is doing, and just remove things that are too complicated and they don't want you to know about. Because they don't footnote the learning of the Jews. They do Egyptian. And they reference the Book of Mormon that talks about the Hebrew and Egyptian have been reformed. That's about it. We can check. See if my associative memory is correct on that. Nope. It's on language of my father. They don't even reference Egyptians. Which, yeah, that's what I would have done if I were to redo this. Put one on Egyptians and reference the Egyptian, Mosiah chapter 1 verse 4. For were it not possible that our father Lehi could have remembered all these things to have taught them to his children, except it were for the help of these plates, brass plates, which is exactly the same as what the Ezekiel 37 prophecy is talking about. The stick of Judah and the stick of Joseph combined together like Reese's peanut butter cups. Not the Book of Mormon attached with footnoting. And for he having taught in the language of the Egyptians. However, 1c, parents, refers to Mosiah 1 verse 2 and then parentheses 2 verse 3. We were also told to remove parentheses, and if it needed to be verse 3, then we'd change it to 1 verse 2 and 3. No parentheses crap. So yeah, again, you see Doctrine and Covenants 68:25 and then parentheses 25:28. They were wanting to get rid of the nonsense that the first group did. Right, Ballard? Yeah, I got super secret sacred knowledge. Oh, look. Yeah, they did put Mosiah 1:4 under language. Oh, dear God. But they didn't reference what the learning of the Jews was. They have Mormon chapter 9, 32, parentheses, 32, 33, which would be the Hebrew and Egyptian have been altered by us. Yeah, called among us Reformed Egyptian. Written in Hebrew, and if the Hebrew had been altered by us also, we could have written in Hebrew. Behold, you would have no imperfection in our record. So it doesn't contain chiasmus then, does it, John Welsh? Does it? But it does. That's strange. Why would it contain chiasmus when we were told it doesn't? Oops, Sydney. You should have gotten together with Joseph Smith Sr. on that one before you wrote that. This was during the year where Joseph Jr. was in timeout and Sr. had to rewrite the 116 pages. Hilarious. Now they would have had no imperfections if they used Hebrew because they didn't coordinate. All right. And so this is the part that was removed from the beginning of the Book of Mormon, the Joseph Smith history that was put in the 1981 edition. Verse 40, gone. The day that shall burn as an oven, gone. They that come shall burn them, added by Joseph Smith, gone from the version in the beginning of the Book of Mormon. And what is this all about? The Book of Mormon. Kind of essential to have. The angel, which is Nephi, according to the Joseph Smith papers, which that would need to be put in here as a footnote. Joseph Smith papers, Nephi. And thus, Doctrine and Covenants, section 27, verse 5. Nephi, corrected by Joseph Smith in the Joseph Smith history, Joseph Smith papers. And so, yeah, there would be something needed to fix that, but with a lot less wording. And so he tells us right here, the prophet from Deuteronomy, from Acts, from the Book of Mormon, 2023, is our Christ. And they don't even put Jesus like they did in Deuteronomy. They just have Deuteronomy 18, 15, parentheses 15 through 19. Acts 3, 22, 22 to 23, and then Acts 7, 37. And because of the direct pattern match of Acts with 3rd Nephi 2023, those two, Acts and 3rd Nephi, would have the extra passages that are the same, so that it doesn't stop at 23. But here, because Joseph put in 3rd chapter of Acts, 22nd and 23rd verses, that's all we're supposed to have. Acts 3, 22 to 23, and get rid of the parentheses. See how that was done? And so Acts 7:37, this is that Moses which was said unto the prophet, shall the Lord your God raise up unto me, him shall ye hear. No. You'd reference this with Acts chapter 2 and Deuteronomy, but not for Joseph Smith history, because it doesn't explain the passage. It just says he quoted also the 3rd chapter of Acts, 22nd and 23rd verses precisely. So check it, I dare you, as they stand in our New Testament. This is the prophecy in the latter days. That's what the messenger is telling us. That's what is taken out at the beginning of the Book of Mormon of this. That this is the latter days. And so, I would, he said that that prophet was Christ, I would reference the Book of Mormon, 2nd Nephi, chapter 3, verse 5. And halfway in, to be remembered in the covenants of the Lord that the Messiah should be made manifest, physical appearance, not Trinitarian, and thus not half and half, non-Trinitarian. But let's see, manifest unto them in the latter days. Who's them now? Joseph Smith tells us who them is. Mormons. And so this I would reference to Doctrine and Covenants, section 103, verse 16. And we could include verse 15, but this specifically talks about it. And so you go to it and then you read the context so that you learn from this. Therefore, I will raise up unto my people, the them. Who's my people, Mormons? Who's the Christ? I'll give you a hint. David Gaunt is wrong. Avraham Gileadi is partially right. He cowtailed to the church because his job depended on it. Who shall lead them like as Moses? Raise up like as Moses from the law of the Jews, of their Christ, in the learning of the Jews for the latter days. And so, yes, the scripture footnoting has been botched. It needs to be fixed desperately. But we need to restore the original documents from the Joseph Smith Papers. The 1830 Book of Mormon, and remove the forged Doctrine and Covenants passages and fix the Joseph Smith history, and correctly translate the Bible. I wonder if there's somebody on earth who could do that. If only he were manifested real, so that you would know, Mormons. If only.